Here at 6:13, 2020, bringing us an election like no other. And while many of the races are still too close to call this morning, there is a lot we do know. And joining us to talk about the results, an accomplished business leader, former civil rights attorney, and human rights advocate Charlene Tarver. And Charlene, the Associated Press calling our state for Joe Biden. My question for you this morning, you analyze policy, you analyze human behaviors. Why do you think Arizona turned blue?
Well, I think that there's a lot of concern around COVID-19 on the ground. We've been seeing the increase in homelessness, lack of employment, businesses that are closed. And I think that the Democrats really did a great job of galvanizing a lot of the first-time voters, speaking to communities of color, making sure that folks who are and have been marginally disenfranchised are engaged and really understood the value of this particular presidential election. So
Well,
I think that the Democrats did a great job with that, but it's still early. Well,
yes.
actually, so we have so much still ahead of us. We will see how this plays out. Of course, the president last night called for this to go to the Supreme Court for a vote for all of the ballot counting to stop. That has never happened. So we are not anticipating that the ballot counting will stop, but that there will be some period of time before we will actually know who the next president is.
Well, Arizona changing these demographics. Talk to us about the impact on that.
Well, I think that, again, it's COVID-19 has really shed a huge spotlight on a lot that's happening around the nation in terms of healthcare, criminal justice reform, economic inequities. We have more than 22 million Americans that are receiving unemployment. We have more than 8 million Americans that we're anticipating are going to be homeless as a result of, or actually have transitioned into homelessness as a result of COVID-19. And so I think that this is a very, very critical election. Arizona turning blue. This is the first time the state has been blue in a presidential election since the election of Bill Clinton. So I think it really speaks volumes about where the state is going and the value of our our Hispanic voters and again, engaging those communities of color. But that it is still too early to determine what the actual outcome of this race is going to be.
But you do mention minority voters. We've heard so much about the Latinx community. We also know we've got a lot of people from California moving into Arizona. Do you think that played a role in the outcome of this election in terms of Arizona turning blue?
I do. I think that played a role. But then, if you look at other parts of the country, when it has been stated that there are a lot of Americans that, when they look at President Trump, he received favorable ratings because of how he's handled the economy, because of the need to push for the reopening of the economy. And then Joe Biden, people felt that he was much more racially inclusive. We do understand that America is very polarized at this point. And so I think the influx of California voters looking to see what matters to Americans. I think a lot of Americans really dug deep in this last election to really say what matters to me, what's my personal stake in this, and whether it's reopening businesses for small businesses or making sure that everyone has access to healthcare and COVID testing, getting our kids back to school, making sure they have access to technology. I think that many Americans were engaged in this race in much deeper ways than we have been in the past.
Well,
So I
we've
think
been
that
living in different times, haven't we? You can
very
understand why
different.
we heard a large and enthusiastic voice on both sides of the aisle. Charlene Tarver, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for the work that you do, not just here in Arizona, but across this country. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Kayla. You have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll stay tuned.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.